Hello friends, it is week 2 of the high school football press box preview. I'm Tyler Cavali, he's Scott Foster. And well, again, we feel fortunate to be doing this for the second week and another week of high school football.
Yeah, it was, I think things went really well last week. All of our games, we saw that there were some measures that were taken to kind of help people out. I think everybody kind of followed the way, and that's how it's going to be. If we can follow the directions and some of those things, we'll keep playing football.
And again, just check to see what's going on at each specific site, because a lot can change. Some, again, are requiring face masks. Some are heavily suggesting it. It just kind of depends. So again, depending where you're going, just check ahead so that way when you get there, or at least just have a mask handy. That's what I've come to notice. So during this whole thing, just have one in your pocket or in your car, and then you're playing it safe.
Or just wear it. Just wear it, regardless.
It won't hurt too bad. There you go. Just wear it. Well, let's get started. We have 2 games for you this week. We'll get back to our triple header next week. But boy, we have a couple of good games on tap this Friday. Let's start on 880 KRVN. Going to be a good one. It's Kearney Catholic hosting at home for the first time this season as they will welcome the Gothenburg Swedes. And well, Scott, you saw Gothenburg last week. That was a game that we featured against Cozad, and not the way that Coach Hecox or Gothenburg wanted to start the season, falling 35-7 against Cozad Haymakers.
Yeah, and we knew going into it they were inexperienced, only 2 returning starters, and it showed. It really did, and there's going to be some growing pains for this Gothenburg Swede team. But because they do the same thing and they've worked on the same thing time and time again, I think that they've got a good chance to improve. The unfortunate thing for them, they're going into a tough place to play here on Friday night.
Yeah, we'll talk about Kearney Catholic here in just a moment, but Coach Hecox did mention he understands this is going to be a process this year, talking to him coming into this week. But for you, what did you find? Was there a couple of bright spots for the young Swedes?
When there was room to run, Owen Geiken was able to get some yards up the middle. They just needed to make room for him. I thought at times the play of Abe Mendez, who was a backup quarterback, came in there, played well. They had a lot of kids effort was always there all night long. And there weren't a lot of big plays. They didn't give up a lot of big plays to Cozad. So they hung in there and they fought. And if you can do that and you continue to do that, you're certainly going to get better.
It's interesting because I was talking to Kearney Catholic, and they were mentioning that they know, despite how the outcome came against Cozad last week, this is still a physical team, and Coach Hecox makes sure that happens each week.
Yeah, there's no give up here. They know it's going to be tough, but they're going to play hard, and that's what you just always know from a Gothenburg football team. They are just going to be physical. They're going to try to beat you up.
Well, the Kearney Catholic Stars, looking at this team, boy, they are surrounded with talent. They have a lot of people coming back from last season, and they started off the year on a pretty good note, winning 65-6 against a Wood River Shelton club last Friday. And well, they got off to a terrific start. They scored on every offensive drive in the first half. And of course, when you have a very talented quarterback who's 6'5", 200+ pounds, Heinrich Harburg, who is obviously heavily recruited D1, threw 4 touchdowns, things are going in the right direction, and things are going to go well.
Well, and here's the thing about Harburg, and Kearney Catholic's going to want to throw it all over the field. They'll throw a lot of fade passes and stuff like that really just are runs for the most part. They just get to the outside that way. They got a good running back in Conrad, but Harburg makes that thing go, and he's not only at 6'6", you expect drop back quarterback, that type of thing. He can run too. And there were a lot of times when the pass protection in front of him broke down and he was able to make something out of it. He's the real deal. And Kearney Catholic looks like they're in a real good shape right now.
And that's the thing, is because they returned so much talent from last year, they lost 3 games, lost in the first round, but a lot of experience is back. There's not a lot of weaknesses with the Stars. It doesn't appear to be, at least in the week 1.
Yeah, it was hard to find any looking in film on that, with maybe the exception of that offensive line. I thought at times it broke down early on against Wood River. So that, I'm sure the Gothenburg coaches are seeing that. They're going to try to stack the deck and try to get some pressure on Harburg. But danger time if you do that, because he's a track athlete and he returns kicks for him. At 6'6", he's returning kicks for him. So that shows you what kind of athlete he is.
It's going to come down if Gothenburg can stop Harburg and this very passing attack that Kearney Catholic has. It's very good. And if they can do that, then they may have a chance. But, of course, we know what the Stars are made of, so it's going to be a difficult game for Gothenburg.
It should be, but it'll be interesting to see the improvement of the Swedes from week 1 to week 2.
Again, that game can be heard on 880 KRVN, or if you're in the Kearney area, 106.9 FM. Game coming up on Friday as well. Kickoff at 7 on Kearney Country. The Lexington Minutemen will board the bus and they'll head out east to Beatrice, which, by the way, is a pretty good facility. I don't know if you've ever been there.
I've not.
A newer facility. I was explaining it to someone the other day. It's almost a small college-like facility. There's a concourse there. Beautiful, by the way. So anybody heading out that direction is in for a treat, certainly. But both teams coming off of a loss last week. For Lexington, they lost to Seward 26-7. Now, this is a young team as well. We talked about this last week for the Minutemen. Coach Rowan knew that coming in, but it doesn't help when you have 3 turnovers, 2 interceptions in the first couple of drives. Kind of puts you behind the 8 ball early. They seem to kind of settle in a little bit, but the turnovers yet again, obviously it doesn't help.
Major problem for them last year, too. But, I was watching that score and getting messages from you on what the score was and stuff. They hung in there, and the fact that they were able to drive the ball a couple times, they were able to get some drives put together with a quarterback who had played tennis the year before, and getting some chances for Ramos to run. Again, this is another very young team. I think they lost 30 seniors last year. That's unheard of. They're going to get better. Coach Rowan's going to coach them up. And again, a tough matchup. These 2 games are pretty similar in their stuff and what they're looking at.
Well, and you mentioned young quarterback Caden West last week. Again, threw a couple of interceptions, but he also threw a nice, beautiful touchdown pass. We'll roll that here. But boy, it was a terrific game, especially in the second quarter for him. He really settled down. You could tell that his nerves were calm a little bit, and that makes a big difference. But again, overall, there's some pieces here. There could be some bright spots here throughout the year for Lexington. Again, not the outcome that they wanted, but overall, not a bad showing.
Well, and you got kids out, you're learning football, and that just takes time. And it's unfortunate that they're in a situation where they're going to take on a really tough team. But the good thing is that nobody's expecting you to do very much in a game like this, so you can go out and just really shock the world.
And Beatrice, 0-1 on this season. They lost to Ralston last week, 38-27, but they too are somewhat inexperienced. However, they put up a lot of points, again 27, but their offense was pretty potent. Over 400 yards of produced offense, 200 yards passing, 200 yards throwing. But their biggest thing is the turnovers as well. They had 4 turnovers on offense. So it doesn't matter how much yards you put up on offense. If you turn the ball over that many times, this is probably not going to be the winning recipe.
Well, it absolutely. But you look at that. If Lexington can control the football, not turn it over, they can force some turnovers for Beatrice. That gives them, that's a nice formula for some success, especially with Beatrice being a young team too. They could get their daubers down a little bit. Who knows?
Yeah, the Orange Men have had 2 straight seasons of losing record. They'll try to turn that around here this year. Again, both teams, someone will come away with their first win of the year. It's a battle of the orange teams, if you will.
Okay.
Lexington,
sure.
the Minute. I'm just saying.
I'll take that.
Okay, all right, we'll go with it. It's a stretch. I know, I get it. Get kickoff for that one in the eastern portion of the state. Lexington at Beatrice, 7 p.m., and you can hear that game on Kearney Country. Well, let's talk about a couple of games that can be found on our sister stations from across the state. I want to start on kneb.com. Hastings traveling out to Scottsbluff. This could be an intriguing matchup in Class B. Hastings 2-0 on the season. They have scored 35 points in both games and have only allowed a total of 22 points. By the way, the first team they beat was a Class A team in Lincoln. So this is a team that you definitely have to watch out for.
Well, everybody, I think, was shocked by that first game. They were really surprised. This is a Hastings team. The Tigers have gotten better each year. They've kind of been a sleeping giant we talked about last year. This is a great watermark game for them to have to travel all the way out west to Scottsbluff, take on a traditional power. Scottsbluff is just going to pound at you. They're going to run the most basic running plays in the world and just going to come after you. If the Tigers can show that this is a chance for them to show that they're real.
Now, Scottsbluff, who is playing at home for the first time, of course, their original first game of the season against Fort Morgan, Colorado, got obviously canceled because Colorado sports are now postponed until the spring. So they found a Class A game at Columbus last week Well, things didn't go well for Scottsbluff as they fell 13-0. They also lost a lot of talent. They didn't even put up 200 yards of total offense last week, so this could be interesting. If Hastings can go 3-0 and Scottsbluff falls to 0-2, boy, how things have changed in Class B here in the really recently.
Yeah, and that's good. I like that. I like that a lot. But I just really, Hastings has really, their athletes have really come up, and they're no longer losing their players to the parochial schools around there. They're staying home, and that's really been the difference for them.
Again, Hastings at Scottsbluff. That game can be heard on kneb.com. Meanwhile, on 104.9 Max Country or 104.9maxcountry.com, Aquinas Catholic will take on Centennial. These two teams usually meet in the playoffs, and it's usually a pretty good game between those two squads. Both teams 1-0 coming into the contest. This one will be another kind of measuring stick type of game.
Love these early season matchups like this that are meaningful early on. You're in a non-district type game. You're going to come at it. And Aquinas is just year in and year out, man. They're really good.
Two powerhouses recently in Class C2, and again, they'll go head-to-head. That game can be heard on 104.9maxcountry.com. And again, on our news station, KUVR, game that can be heard on KUVR.com. It is Holdridge at home for the first time this season. Ugly loss for them last week at Adams Central, but we kind of thought it would be a tough sledding for them in the first game. They'll be hosting Ogallala.
Interesting game here. Ogallala was not horribly impressive against Broken Bow in the first week of the season. They're replacing some players. Of course, Holdridge has cleaned the deck. They have a whole new team. Maybe the Dusters, new head coach here, maybe they can get something going on this one.
Hey, speaking of cleaning the deck, brand new stadium as well.
That's
for
right.
Holdridge as well. Brand new
right.
stadium, press box, lights, basically down to the grass. Everything is brand new. So here's an opening night for them, and we'll see if they can get a win at home against Ogallala. Check it out again at KUVR.com. But if you can go to the game, support them as well.
Absolutely. You got to be there early to get the good seats because there's not as many. So get there early and do it. But that'll be fun. I hope I get to go to Holdridge. We'll see.
Otherwise, it'll be on KUVR.com.
It will.
We'll check it out eventually, promise. Okay. So those are our other three matchups to definitely watch for. That can be heard on our sister stations across the state. So just one more recap. It is Lexington traveling to Beatrice. Game at 7. Pre-game is at 6:35, and that game can be heard on KRVN Country. Jason Jorgensen will have the call on that one. And then this guy and I will have the team up on the call as Kearney Catholic will host the Gothenburg Swedes. Kearney Catholic 1-0, while the Gothenburg Swedes are 0-1. Pre-game at 7:35. 6:35. Let's try that again.
Which one?
We'll get it.
6:35? Okay.
It's a week 2. We'll get this by the time this season's over, I promise. Kickoff is at 7 p.m. So week 2, again, a couple of teams have the option of going 2-0. Meanwhile, a couple of teams looking to pick up their first win of the season. But despite what happens, a lot can still happen the rest of the year as long as football keeps happening.
That's all that matters. Let's face it, that's all that matters. Football is happening, and that's all we need to worry about.
Get all those games you heard at KRVN.com. He's Scott Foster. I'm Tyler Cavali. This has been the second week edition of the Press Box Preview.